And with that, I'm just going to introduce our keynote presenter for the morning. We'll take a break after this presentation, but right now we're going to hear from Jack Patrici. I'm so happy that they are here with us today. Some of you may have heard from Jack before. Jack is the founder and principal of Growing a New Heart. They are a trained body-centered trauma clinician with a lot of experience training people from all different backgrounds on how to have compassionate, accountable conversations. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jack.
Hello, friends. I'm here with my colleague, Tanisha Arena, and we had planned on also co-presenting with Reggie Wingo, but he has kids, and then you know how that happens. Okay, so also I have some beautiful flyers that we got to the printer in time in a big box on my kitchen table. So let's hope all that's out of the way and we'll get going. My name is Jack. It's my initials. I'm really glad to be back in the big, beautiful Jeremy world and not like just behind a screen with you. I want to thank Meredith and Michelle and Kiko for inviting us here today to be part of your innovative move forward. A little bit about us and me. I have been working on a BSAS project looking at the connection between substance use, unintentional death by opioids, and intimate partner violence and sexual violence and community violence since 2014. And Tanisha and a group of folks have joined me to help create a foundation level 40-hour training that is centering racial justice and community safety and recovery, and looking at transforming values of violence. And so that should be done in a couple months, and we're really excited that will be made available to anyone here. And so there's some things from that we'll introduce and feature today. I also want to shout out to some of my friends from the Quabog Hills Community Coalition, which right now I'm volunteer leading. We all take turns. Right now it's my turn. And that is where the Quabog Hills Substance Use Alliance was born, and it's grown up and does beautiful things and is partners to Hampshire Hope and others. Right now, Tanisha and I and my other colleagues are working with a California Association Alliance of Boys and Men of Color and their Healing Together campaign across the state of California to also look at how to use skills in community that are transformative when you're facing people who are using control or violence and also substances. We're also working with Cambridge Heart, who've taken the full version of the training you'll get a little exposure to today, and Vermont's program Umbrella. So there's many states across the country who are beginning community-based initiatives to transform their use of power and their relationship to community as you increase safety. And so we're happy to give you a little insight into what we do, and also to say that there'll be a full day training available to you to use the skills and to get more into what we're looking at today. So I'll just turn it over to T to introduce herself.
Good morning. My name is Tanisha Arena. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And in my day job, I run Arise for Social Justice, grassroots nonprofit located in Springfield. And it's one of the ways that I bump up against this work. When I'm not doing that, I am a consultant for Growing a New Heart, as Jack mentioned, and we train on lots of different areas, dialogues across differences, compassionate, accountable conversations, holding space, affinity groups. A lot of the work that I focus on, the way that I show up, is about the history of how this goes and white supremacy and racism. Those are usually the bad words, but I'll say the bad words because we need to say the bad words. And it's hard work, it's rewarding work, and it's important that we show up in these spaces with our whole, true, authentic selves. If healing is not rooted in truth, then what is it? What are we doing? And we wind up going around and around in circles, and we don't want to do that. Like, we have the opportunity to show up different and be better folks and really change all these systems and institutions that are harmful. So
great. So let's have my own now.
Okay.
You got the clicker.
I got the clicker.
Us. We'll take turns here.
Okay, so our agenda for our logical sequential folks, go to the table, get all the paperwork. What are we doing? We're going to make distinctions and talk about the frameworks, the principles, and skills practice. And then we'll have free resources for you and community. So these are our grounding guidelines that we will start with when we do our trainings. And the one that I'm going to point out here is the hot coals. Now, usually Jack does this, but I'm going to take this story. Has anybody in here ever walked on hot coals? Like paid actual money to do that? Yeah, no, right? Okay, so
There are over 15 years, there have been 4 people who paid money to do that, and they raised their hand. I know life will do it all by itself, but they paid to do it and they did not get burned.
right. And we take that as the lesson. Like, you spend most of your time when you pay money to learn to walk on hot coals, learning to walk on hot coals, how to regulate your body to do this thing. And then you walk on hot coals and nobody gets burned. And so we use that here. We're going to learn the ways to bump up against things that are hot coals, because none of the things that we talk about are ever neutral. They're hot. It'll raise up your blood pressure, make the vein pop out of your head like, oh, but we'll prepare how to do that, to walk on these hot coals.
It's a great metaphor because everybody here is touched by what we're going to be talking about. I think Reggie's not here, so the diamond's you.
Shout out to my buddy Reggie. It's my brother from another mother. This diamond. This is the idea when someone has said the thing that causes you to have to walk on hot coals. So we're going to look at this. Like, you think about a diamond, it has lots of faces. So we're going to take this idea out of a person who's raised up my blood pressure. We're going to look at this. It also evokes the image. We're standing side by side looking at something, this idea, right? I see it from this side. You see it from this side. It's like, oh, okay, let's look at this together. So that's when that idea that someone has expressed is the metaphor is the diamond.
We're going to ask you to use that today. We're going to introduce some ideas. We want you to just look at them and turn them around. But uniforms aside, I can't always tell. So please raise your hand if you're in law enforcement, just so we can tell. Okay. Thank you. So I used to be a police academy trainer in Vermont. They call the Criminal Justice Training Consortium. And this is where I learned that training people in law enforcement is like this husky here. See that husky? Because adults learn, research shows us adults learn by doubting and sorting out, is what you're saying true? And you're especially good at that. Discernment, that husky face, like, what is that? What? Also, my husband works for probation, and so that's also like him in our family. Like, oh, honey, hey, guess who I saw today? That's the husky face, because he's sorting out how safe was that? Who was that? Somebody I had put back in jail? Like, who'd you see? So we actually want to encourage that. Each idea we give you, those arrows together, we want to encourage your discernment, your doubting. Doubting is actually respectful. What do they mean? How's that going to apply to me? How useful is that going to be? So we want to embrace that today, that tension of ideas and that husky face energy. I guess the last one, I forgot we had this one up here, is just the accept.
We got to do the arrows.
Oh, that's the husky. That's attention.
Okay. Oh, we got a twofer.
Yeah.
So this last one that we have here is the accept. So Jack and I know that as facilitators, there is a power dynamic that exists. And we name that, we'll put it down when we're done. And it's asking your permission. Will you accept us in this facilitative role today? You can thumbs up. Oh, we're in the real German time.
Real
so
world.
there's
They
no electronic emojis. It's one of our Zoom pieces of humor. So if you will accept us as your facilitators for the next hour. Okay, look at that. I guess that means we got to do this thing.
Yeah,
all right.
Do this thing. All right, could you advance that?
Let's go.
All right, let's go. Okay, there's a couple reasons we're going to start here. One is that when there's substance use, there's a 60% overlap in both directions with intimate partner violence. What I mean by bidirectional or both directions is that when there's intimate partner violence, there's also approximately a 60% overlap with substance use. So no matter what, the likelihood is that you're going to, when you're working with people who are using drugs, you're going to see intimate partner violence. And then you're also going to see maybe some aggression or what we call community violence. And so we want to help you make some key distinctions in what you're seeing so that, and then we'll give you we'll end with some interventions that we're going to ask you to do with us. There's what we call 9 interrupters. We'll ask you to practice with us. We also have 12 strategies and 15 skills, but that's part of the full training that you can use, and we'll just introduce the interrupters at the end. But there's some ways of looking that we'd like you to look. First is we want to make a key distinction between basically safe relationships that still might be terrible. That is different from being in what's an abusive relationship. And the reason why we need to know the difference is because the interventions you use are really different. So if you're in a basically safe relationship, you'll go through a cycle. And as I describe this, I'd like you to think of your own relationships, your friendships, your jobs, because it's very predictable. It usually starts out with some kind of expansive romantic phase. If you're young, like when I work with college age folks, it's tops 2 weeks, they'll say. But there is some research that shows that relationship euphoria doesn't last more than 12 weeks. That's about all you get out of it. It's also interesting that when you take a substance that induces euphoria or a high in you, after 12 weeks, you'd need to increase that amount if you survive it, as D.A. Sullivan was talking about how risky it is nowadays. So there's something about our physiology that won't let us stay euphoric or high in a relationship or on a substance for more than 12 weeks. And so for relationships, that is like, this job is amazing. I love this job. This relationship's amazing. If you have that thing, you have to know it's going to end. It's going to end in tops 12 weeks. And eventually the vegetarian and the hunter are going to start arguing because you need to eat and you need to get on with, start moving your life. And you're going to have arguments about, like, does shrimp have souls and why? And I want to go back to church. And no, I just walk in the woods and there is no God. And you used to be so happy. And now you're arguing about the existence of a deity or not and food. And that's normal. So it's either that vulnerability reveals what needs to be healed, perhaps, or maybe it's just physiological, that after 12 weeks, your bodies and your life need to get back to your routine, and that's when you're going to have conflict. Most people aren't prepared for that, especially young people. They'll say to me, "Oh, Jack, I'm in a good, healthy relationship now." And I'll say, "Good. How was that first solid conflict?" And they'll say, "Oh, no, I don't have any. That's why the relationship's good." And I'll text back, because they're never talking. And I'll text back, you text me after your first solid conflict, because you don't know what kind of relationship you have at work, with your friends, or in a partnership until you have a solid conflict. That's when you find out what you have. A lot of people think that intimate partner violence or even community violence is conflict gone wrong. I'm telling you, it's not conflict gone wrong. It's not a lack of skills. There's a little word up here that says, here's the things you're going to influence your conflict. Money. How come they pay people who manage money twice as much as they pay people who transform people's lives? That's a conflict. That's going to happen at work. Time. I can't believe they want me to spend all this time on my electronic timesheets. I did not sign up for this job to do that. That's going to be a predictable conflict in your relationship too. Like for me, I've been together with my partner for 25 years, and I didn't come from a sportsing family. And when I discovered that he wanted to spend like at least a half of the year watching television on Sunday, he's like, "That's not TV. That's the game." And that is a predictable conflict over time and what your values are, what grounds you, what the expectations of the gender are, your skills. This is where in a basically safe relationship, skills do matter. But they don't matter if you're actually in an abusive relationship. You can be incredibly skillful. You could be a professor of communication skills. You can be an attorney who is brilliant with language. You could be a mediator and still be really abusive to your partner. It's not a lack of skills. So we'll look at what it is. But if you're in a basically safe relationship, skills will matter, and eventually you're going to reevaluate the commitment. Is this rewarding? I don't like my supervisor. I hate the commute. I love the job. I love my colleagues. You weigh it out. Everybody does this. And you decide, well, I need the paycheck. I do love the work. It's meaningful. You reevaluate. And if you stay, you get another romantic phase. Only this time, it's real. Got feet on the ground. You know who the person is. You know what the job is. And here's the deal. You keep doing this. 10, 20, 30 years. You will always have conflict. Hopefully you're getting better at it. Everybody knows all conflict becomes symbolic of all conflicts you've ever had before. So if you're in a long-term relationship, like, do the knives go up in the dishwasher or down? It's not really about the knives, is it? It's about all the arguments you've ever had and how come you're not respecting me and how come I have to do it and all that. It's like symbolic. And you're supposed to get better at conflict. That's the skill part. And then you reevaluate. Could look like, I need to make a change. I don't want your brother living with us anymore. I need to go back to school. Or grandma says my role was to raise the kids and the grandkids and I'm done. And grandma's partner's heartbroken because grandma's reevaluated. And grandma's feeling like, oh my, I've completed this relationship. And grandma's partner's like, what happened? But this is how it works. Sometimes relationships are completed, not failed. They're done. But other person's not done. That's not abusive. That's just a heartache. And sometimes you're with someone whose values or habits you don't like, or their skills are terrible. You're not afraid, but you don't like them. But they're safe enough to be left. If someone is safe enough to leave, then you're in a basically safe relationship and you can reevaluate and leave. Or you keep going around. And that is really different from what is abusive. So what is it that makes what's abusive? Okay, why are people abusive? In order to be abusive, you have to consciously or unconsciously hold deeply held beliefs or values you might not even know you have. So let's see what they are. All right, there's 8 of them. The writing's small, so I'll go through them with you. First one is simple but powerful. Believing I can hurt or intimidate you or misuse my power or tempt if I feel uncomfortable. Believing when I can misuse my power when I feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't have made me feel that way. What's in the uncomfortable bucket? Unresolved trauma. What's in the uncomfortable bucket? I'm exhausted. I'm dehydrated. I haven't eaten. Everything, all the feelings, your symptoms of your partially treated serious emotional disturbance, everything's in that uncomfortable bucket. Because hurt people don't hurt people. Hurt people with untransformed abusive values hurt people. There are millions of people living with unresolved trauma, living with serious emotional disturbances who are safe. And there is enough research to show us that even people who are living with persistent mental illness, when they're violent, which is only 2.5% to 3% of that population, they're violent in the presence of the same 2 conditions that are present with everybody else who doesn't have serious emotional disturbances. And what are they? They believe that under certain conditions, they can use violence and they have support for that idea. So the first abusive value is the thing we change in community and in ourselves, if we can. That we break apart the idea that because I don't like how I feel, I can misuse my power. No, you don't have to like what's happening in your body or in what's happening around you, and you can still be a reliably safe person. So this gets tested when we're dealing with people who are intentionally trying to antagonize you, right? This becomes something that's tested in us, and that's one of the things that we actually train on is how do you engage without reproducing these abusive values. The second one is some form of superiority. Sometimes it's gender, sometimes it's relationship superiority, sometimes it's race, sometimes it's conscious or not. If we think we don't have any form of superiority, just think for a minute when you've been on hold customer service for 45 minutes and someone picks up from the other side of the world and it's probably their third language, and the attitude that I get shows me that I still got some superiority business to work out. We all got something. And here's how it connects. People can use their skills with their boss or with someone else, wait all day, go home to their partner over whom they've made themselves superior, and abuse their partner for a thing the partner didn't do, but the boss did. And they have all the skills to manage it with the boss, but they've assigned their partner a lesser role. And so that's the superiority. They go hand in hand. So we also look at 3 through 8. These are about not being mutually accountable to other people. These might sound familiar. Believing it's your job to accept me as I am, no matter what I do. Well, you knew who I was when I got together. Or, well, you knew what this job was like when you took it, so why are you complaining? Believing I have the right to tear you down if you point out something about me that threatens my self-concept. Oh, so you're perfect? Who do you think you are telling me? What about the way you? 5, believing that you must celebrate me, my self-perceived strengths, my growth and change, not mention how little I've changed. Well, all that was in the past. It's over. Of course, it was last night. Where is it? Okay. How long do I have to suffer because of this one mistake? Like strangling you. Okay, believing that I can act disgusted and insulting if you point out significant things that I forget or do not know. What do you know about it anyway? We ask ourselves as preventionists, as interventionists, how good and graceful am I at being wrong or mistaken? Because you already know in your head who it's not worth to tell they made a mistake in your life. You're like, not worth that trouble. Too much work. That person, that's the abusive value here, because they're not mutually accountable to you in humility. Believing I can establish reality or fact patterns to my liking. This is exhausting. And we know, at least in intimate partnerships, we know how it plays out. It plays out across all kinds of power relationships, governmental, with propaganda. But in intimate partnerships, it plays out like, here's the custody agreement. I have it written down. No, I don't know what that was. I didn't do that. You have to reestablish basic observable fact patterns. Or like, you know, is that yours that I found in your pocket? Nope. I don't know how it got in there. Or are those your pants? Nope, not my pants. Like just having to struggle to get someone to just admit the patterns of fact. And then the 8th one, believing I can be contemptuous or violent if you complain because I should never be answerable to you. Some people say it out loud. Some people just imply it. Some people will say, I don't answer to you. So we have a question for you that Reggie usually asks, really, is if you could just say, anyone, which of these do you dislike the most when you see somebody do it? You've seen them all. Which bothers you the most? Number 1 is, if I don't like how I feel, I'm going to punish somebody. They're going to pay for it. Number 2 is, I'm superior. Number 3 is, accept me as I am. 4, if you show me something about myself I don't like, I'm going to tear you down for that. 5 is, only celebrate me, right? Don't keep showing me. I got to keep learning. 6 is, I'm disgusted or insulted if you show me something I don't know. 7 is establishing fact patterns to how I like it. And 8 is being contemptuous if you complain or violent. Which one, please just somebody raise their hand. There's no wrong answer. Which one bugs you the most when you see it in community or in your life somewhere?
I heard 7. 7?
That one's so much work.
Is that the only one y'all have seen? It can't be. 2?
Yeah, superiority. Yeah. 6.
6?
Yeah. Yeah, disgusted just because they don't know something. Yeah. Okay, so Reggie usually does this part, but you're hearing a lot more from me today. Do you want to do this one about like which one you're undoing in yourself, team?
Oh, we got this. So, which one of these are you undoing in yourself?
Now, I'm going to say Reggie and I share the same one. I don't know what you have. I'm working on number 5 because I might be 55 and a half years old, but I'm a big baby and I want you to love me. And I don't want to hear that I have to keep changing. It's like, adore me. I'm amazing. That's all I got. It's not. And I don't want to learn that. I got to keep learning. So that's our question. Which one is it for you, T?
I sit at the table with you and Reggie's number 5. Like, come on now, I'm amazing. I'm an Aries, right? Like,
oh, we're with us at number 5? Well, you are amazing.
That's the struggle.
Okay.
Thank you. So are you.
All right. See, that's why we like each other. We don't have to change anything, do we, T? No.
No.
All right. Which one are you working on in yourselves? Because there's no one exempt. We got no perfect enlightened beings in the room. Go ahead. Which one are you working on in yourselves? 4.
Nice.
Yeah, that one's hard. Not to bite when somebody shows you something.
Mm-hmm.
2. Yes, right. I'm a total, complete equal with the people I am working with. People using drugs, everyone in community. I am equal. You are an equal being.
Oh, you know where this strikes a chord? When you have children. Grown children
Yeah.
that live in your house.
Hold on, we got. What's that? Yeah, we can all thank you. We can all. Were you part company? Well, right. Some people, but it's real. Some people don't. Some people don't land on the same page in the other. They don't. I'm a long termer. Maybe you are too. Like 20. Yeah, I like working it out. I've learned so much from working it out, but some people can't or don't.
Right. And if your person decided, I don't want to work it out, what will you do? Will you become harmful, or are you a safe person to leave?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We need to be safe enough to be left.
Yeah.
We need to be safe enough to be left. What comes next? There's another layer to this that Reggie also is going to do, but I'll do it.
Okay.
These abusive values are not just interpersonal. They are global. If you look at your history, every country that was once a colony, which is about everywhere, because there was about 500 years of that going on, was founded on documents that are the abusive values. So it's in everything. And our country is in tension between dominance or superiority values, which is where we started, and values of a vision of equity, equality, respect. And that tension shows up in all of our systems. So when you have a project like DART, it's actually moving towards equity, respect. It's transforming the systems. That's what you're involved in here. Because the social norms or the policies that we're trying to arrest our way out of a problem didn't work. And so you're transforming your approach. Harm reduction, deep relationship and connection and community. That's moving towards values of equity and respect. And the systems of control, or all the systems that interact, are now transforming your ways of connecting. And then you're going to bump up into colleagues who say, what are you talking about? Right? And that's normal because we're in this tension here. It plays out in every policy, every system of protection, every practice that we have. We're all undoing abusive values. There's nobody immune from that. The habits of dominance, we're all surviving them, and we're all working to promote equity and respect. So we say this to actually cultivate our humility, that when you start doing something different, embracing harm reduction, really transforming your relationships with people using drugs to community, then you might run up to community members and colleagues who do not know what you're doing, who are still thinking, wait, containment is the only part of the solution I get. And we're just trying to normalize that, to say, yep, that tension is going to exist when you're transforming our approaches, which is what you're doing.
Sit in the tension. It's good stuff.
Oh my gosh, we are so right on time. I'm so excited about that. Okay, go ahead.
The socialization to violence?
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to do that real quick. Okay, I just want you to know that this part of the deeper training looks at what makes a violent reaction in community normalized. And it actually takes a few steps. And the important part here is someone doesn't normalize the use of violence unless they've been exposed to it. This is based on the work of criminologist Dr. Lonnie Athens from Seton Hall. You have to decide under what conditions you would use violence or force. Everybody makes that decision. Everybody. No one's exempt, even if you've never tried it out. You're still thinking, what if they came for me, my kids, my dogs, right? I have to decide. And that's still, if it's untested, it's still not normalized for you. Taking the act of violence still doesn't normalize it. It's how your community responds to you. And that is a big part of what community-based interventions are. If community-based interventions can say, I know you've got this going on with your drug use, and I see this is going on in your family, 60% overlap, it's going to happen. You're going to see violence in families. The community response that interrupts it and says, hey, there's another way, is actually the most powerful intervention. And so we're going to introduce some interrupters at the end. The reinforcing response that says, hey, that's what you just got to do in relationship to keep your partner in line, that's what keeps that going. It's not, it's not more complicated than finding more interrupters. We have very few interrupters in our communities for both community violence and intimate partner violence that are not about containment. We have very few that are about engagement, that are available to everyone. And so that's what we're promoting, is while you're working with people in a harm reduction approach, you're going to see a very large percentage of use of violence and force in their partnerships and maybe towards you. And so what we want to do is help hone a community-based interruption of that. All right, T.
All right. So we look at addiction, right? There's the centrality of substance. You're changing your social networks. And any of these things, gambling, food, alcohol, substances, tobacco, pornography, social media, exercise, fill in the blank, becomes the thing that you do that makes you feel good. It gives you that thing, and you keep going. It's like, okay, so you got this intense pleasure or stability, and then it fades, as it does. Then you've got the negative after effects, and then you've got the nervous system distress, emotional distress, and the compelling longing to use, whether it's that chemical, that thing, you got to go shopping. It feels good. You can't tell anybody. The mounting secrecy. If they knew all the Amazon boxes that were coming to my house, or that I exercised, 15 hours a day, you're in this downward spiral and you have damage to your health and well-being. And you're just cycling through and nobody knows. And we also know that when you are struggling with addiction, right, it makes you feel uncomfortable, right? The first 500 days are increasingly challenging. And all the neurochemicals and emotional experiences are there. And you're going to see abusive values. They're going to show up. And I want you to remember the first abusive value. I can hurt or intimidate you or misuse my power or show contempt if I feel uncomfortable. I'm addicted, but I'm not getting my fix. I am uncomfortable. So most people think if someone stops using, they won't be violent, but it's actually going to increase because those first 500 days, they're uncomfortable. So addiction on its own will degrade relationships, any relationship in the bond. But then when you pair it with abusive values, it's when you see an increase in abuse, but it's not in the substance, right? It's not in the gummies that you can get at the dispensary. The racism is not in the gummy. Ambien doesn't make you a racist. The misogyny or the relationship superiority is not in the bottle. It's a value. And I'm going to tell you a story because we're storytelling folks. Dan Ellis worked with folks who were struggling through addiction and dealing with intimate partner violence, right? So guys show up together and he'd entertain them like, oh, it's the substances, right? Because I'm addicted. That's why I steal from my kid. I'm addicted. That's why I, beat my partner. And he's like, yeah. It's the drugs, it's the drugs, it's the drugs. And he's agreeing with them, everything that they're saying, right? And they're justifying it with their use of substances. So he says, oh, so you'd sleep with your grandma? And I'm like, dude, no, that's gross. Like, how could you say that? Like, oh, I would never. He says, oh, so there are some things, no matter how high you get, if Willie Nelson and Snoop Dogg is sitting in the corner with you, you would never do. Like sleep with your grandmother. You sure? And I'm like, oh, there's no way. Never. Never happened. So clearly you're making a choice then. Because it doesn't matter. You know you're never going to sleep with your grandma. And one of the participants, he says, oh, I think I got it. It's not like I'm going to use substances and I don't know Mandarin Chinese before, and now I do because I've used these substances. The substances aren't going to give you something that you didn't have to begin with, right? If you don't have the abusive values, you can have your gummies, you can have your drinks, you can do all the things, and you're just going to be mellow, passed out, and whatever. But you're not going to become someone who's abusive. You're not going to get up and know Mandarin Chinese. It has to be there inside already, and it just amplifies the thing that is there. So even if you remove the substances, the abusive values are still going to be there. You have to address the underlying values that drive the behavior. And that's what Dan Ellis was able to point out when he had both of these groups together. Because if it were the substances that made you do it, you'd sleep with your grandmother. And that's not what they were saying.
That his work, he was been part of that opioid task force federal grant that we've been working on. It does acknowledge there are some substances that like PCP, that will totally like transform your experience of your brain. And like as he would say, okay, so maybe we'd all become cannibals, but like by and large, you're amplifying or revealing values you didn't even know you had. Like for the old people in the room like me, Mel Gibson caught on the telephone when he was under the influence saying all this anti-Semitic stuff. It's not the substance. The anti-Semitic stuff was there. And that's hard for us, which is why we do the abusive values first. Because then that's people losing the place to say it was the substance and now I'm different. Well, okay, the abusive values impact every one of us. Substances are just amplifying and revealing whichever one we were working on and didn't get very far with, which might be the superiority, the lack of mutual accountability, the who do you think you are-ness. That happens in community too. You have lots of community members saying, I know it's bad now, but I think once my partner's in recovery, it's going to be better. And that's what T is teaching. Oh no, you know how hard recovery is. That's a lot of discomfort, right? And if someone has that abusive value, like T pointed out, you might see an increase like we do in the recovery process. And so we have to help people be more savvy about what they're facing, because you can transform, like the gentleman pointed out. This is solvable, right? You can transform those abusive values. You just have to know there's two things. So we actually train recovery coaches in the whole training so that you're prepared to have both those conversations. Plus, if you don't feel prepared to have both those conversations, Massachusetts has a free statewide initiative available to you and to the people in community that we'll introduce at the end. But let's keep going. Oh, I think I go next, right? Yeah, okay. Hey, this is the same thing with mental health that's partially treated, that you might have a severe emotional disturbance that someone calls like chronic mental illness. Not everyone uses that language for your life. But it can be really degrading to the bond of a relationship. It can fray it. If you have a partially treated or a chronic mental health condition, it's not abusive to be depressed, but your partner might not want to be with you over time. And that is heartbreaking. It's not abusive, but people sometimes can't sustain the relationship. Like you, I'm a keeper, stayer person, but not everybody can do that. It's too much to ask for some folks. So we make that distinction that, hey, you might be with someone who's aggravated depression. That is not abusive. It's just hard to be with. And it's destructive to the bond. Same thing, the personality disorder categories as a whole, they most look like abuse. And here's the thing is often people also have abusive values. But they can be really difficult to be with someone who's in such a locked in condition. They're not trying to hurt you. That's a mental health issue, but it can be destructive. The partner would be like, I don't want to do this. I can't. Same thing with unresolved trauma. But like I worked with veterans who have partially on their way to heal, have their trauma resolved. And there are people who, for example, whose nervous system can't do certain things like fireworks. And if Tanisha's saying to me, hey, Jack, I want to have a party. I'm going to have fireworks. And I know where I am in my healing from my trauma to my nervous system. I would say, well, you do that. I'm going to go hang out with Reggie because I don't do that. If I have abusive values, I'll say, who the hell do you think you are having fireworks? You know I can't do that. Trauma doesn't make you say that. I have other options, right? So we help people work. How are you going to be with your process of healing your trauma and also transforming your values? Okay, we just want you to know about this because if you want to go to the next slide, see the one Reggie's going to do. A lot of people think, well, you just got to learn how to calm down and regulate yourself. There's some really chilling studies that show people can be completely regulated, calm, and their heart rate not raising at all while they're beating up their partner because they feel totally justified and entitled and superior to do that. So it's not a matter of calm down. People can be utterly calm and superior. So that idea like, you just calm down and it'll be all right. No, it's not the answer. It's really good to be able to regulate your emotions, to see, that's the I, what they are, to name what's happening while it's happening. Wow, my heart rate. Wow, I'm like getting tense, and to track it and be present in your body and actually calm yourself down. It's a great skill, but it's not going to stop somebody. That skill is not going to transform somebody believing they feel totally justified in hurting you. Okay, what comes next? Oh, yeah.
Chronic immaturity. This is folks not cleaning up their mess, whining when they must meet responsibilities like, oh, I got to do this again. Why? Unsure of commitment as preferred stance. So we're just going to go with the flow. Acting burdened if asked to meet responsibilities. A lot of these probably sound familiar. You can think of folks that you know. It also looks like putting more energy into their buddies than their relationships. They're flirtatious. They have little insight into themselves. They expect others to feel what they feel. So you've got the wound. Then there's the second wound, the eye roll. The third wound, things break when someone is having their chronic immaturity.
So that part is, if you, this would be normal to you, like about maybe 23, like it would be developmentally appropriate.
Yeah, teenagers.
But if you are actually have abusive values and you're not safe enough to get feedback from people, you're going to be stuck here. You're going to be actually essentially immature because the feedback loop where you're safe enough to get feedback is what matures you in relationship. But if you're not safe enough to be told, then you're going to stay chronically immature. And all you got is you wound somebody, say something, and then they try to tell you about it and you roll your eyes and then they get even madder. And then the only thing you got in your back pocket is, I need a break. And then they're enraged. It's just not going to work. Is that abusive? No. Is it going to fray the bond? Yes. And the reason we bring up what's destructive and what's abusive is because of this next one. In real life, you're going to get a braid of all of it. That's what's going to happen. You'll be listening to people and you'll be like, wow, they got some unmet mental health needs. They need to have their mental health needs addressed. That's being destructive here, not abusive. I can see they are chronically immature. Oh, yeah, this person can't be told nothing, right? Okay. And they've got some substance use that's actually not working for them, or they're in some process of finding a path to recovery, right? That's your bread and butter here. And they got abusive values. That's what you got. You have a braid. Sometimes people have 2, sometimes people got 3, 4. And what we do is we help people get really good at seeing all of them so that you know which one that you're going to go for. And the community response works really well, keeping people alive with programs like DART for the use of drugs and harm reduction, and to train you to interrupt abusive values. Community response is the strongest interventions here. And then referrals to mental health supports and referrals. Actually, therapy is really good for immaturity, right? That's a good wired place. That's a good referral. But your response on the substance use and the abusive values is going to be the most effective. Okay. How do we do it? Well, some of the interrupters we're going to just end on teaching with have to embody these 2 things. Here's a principle we work with. Compassion without accountability is collusion. If I'm just saying, yeah, I get you, I've been there, I see how it is, people are going to feel like, yep, you're endorsing everything I'm doing. That's collusion, just going along with it. But if you're all accountability with no compassion, like that's not okay, that's not going to cut it here, that's all accountability, that's just domination. It's not going to work. We need both. It's like you got 2 feet. You need both, compassion, accountability, but we all favor one. So I've been cultivating my compassion because I'm an accountability first person when things go down. I'm just being honest. It's not right or wrong. That's just how I am. So I've been cultivating my compassion to feel the true humanity of someone else. So I just want you to raise your hand. No wrong answers. When things go down, who's first? Even if you don't act on it internally, you're like accountability. No wrong answers. Just who you are. Thank you. Okay, something goes down and your internal, your first reaction is compassion. Just take a look. Okay, you need each other because we all need both. Mm-hmm. And why do people choose dominance? Well, dominance promises getting it your own way. It's very seductive, looks good for a while, you get your own way. But actually, even people in intimate partnership are using dominance. For the most part, they're wanting connection with their partner. And it's just not going to work. And you think if you hold tight and you control, you're going to get it. It's not. It's going to kill it. Dominance promises you're going to get what you need, but only actually real connection is going to ever deliver what you want from that relationship. So our interventions in community are about teaching real connection with compassionate accountability, with both.
Mm-hmm. And we won't replicate dominance. How many times have you been in a space where it's like, oh my gosh, they're over there doing this thing. We need to tell them, don't do the thing, but we're going to force them. Y'all be like, but then y'all be like the y'all that y'all be like. You can't dominate someone into not being dominant. You can't beat somebody and tell them to stop beating people. It doesn't work.
You can't control somebody into stop controlling people. Right?
Y'all be like, we don't want to ever replicate dominance, and that's how we upend the systems and institutions that are rooted in that place. We get to choose to do something different and better. And that's this program.
All right.
By showing up in community in those ways.
All right, cool. Let's show them.
Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah, it's not neutral. We're just saying that what you do, what harm reduction does, lands solidly in equity and respect.
Right.
Look, the computer's glitching a little. Okay, you can handle it. I'm talking to the computer. You can handle it. All right, next slide. Let's see.
I believe in you.
They can't handle it. Is really the computer going to lose its mind on the one part? Okay, no. Good.
All right. What do you want us to be? You want to go back to the equity?
No, we're good. Let's stay on interrupters.
Okay.
So this is for you. I wish it was bigger because the screen's a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. These are interrupters. So these were developed with people who have expertise in substance use recovery and people who have expertise with people who use harm in intimate partnerships, both. So, T, if you want to review them.
Yeah. So these interrupters look like, can we talk about how being in recovery also means being responsible for the way that you respond to everyone? I want to talk with you about doing another level of work on this right now. Let's focus right now on how we really understand rigorous honesty and our impact on others. Well, I was being honest. Okay. We can figure out together how you want to handle what you're feeling about this, but we've got to stop that kind of labeling here. We can look at this together. You are here because you hurt your partner and you want to be a safe, reliable partner that can be trusted. Is that right? Putting it aside anything they did to you or did at all, let's look at you and your behavior only right now. What do you think your partner might say about you if they were here and you were only seeing things from your partner's point of view? There are two really difficult issues going on. One is your use of substances, and the other is your use of violence. The facts of your conditions are that you got high and assaulted your daughter's mom. And then you can insert your own. And these are some of the interrupters that are used in talking with folks who cause harm.
Right. So Reggie was going to do this, but T, do you want to set it up? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to make some statements, and then someone, a brave soul from the audience, say whichever interrupter would make sense.
The whole sentence. Say it out loud.
Yep. I'm going to say the whole with my whole chest. I've never hit a woman, and I would never do that. She just got in the middle of me fighting with my brother, and then I come over to apologize, and she made such a big deal out of nothing. How are you going to interrupt this? You can also insert your own.
If you can't see all the words, you can pick a number and we can read it out for you. Six is a fan favorite. We do this all over the country. It's the most favorite one we've ever seen. It says, putting aside anything they did to you or did at all, let's look at you and your behavior only right now. I say that one almost every day because people who have not really addressed their abusive values actually really want to talk a whole lot about what the other people are doing, right? And so this is like the only thing you're going to be able to change here is you. So let's get back to you. Okay, T, next.
She really pushed my buttons. I'm not like an abuser or anything. I just shoved her a little bit when she got all up in my face. She doesn't understand that relapse is part of recovery.
Number one, can we talk about how being in recovery also means being responsible for the way you respond to everyone? Bam. These were not easy to come up with. I was in the group that did this. It took so long to figure out how we're going to walk the line to honor recovery and also challenge the values in a way that you stay connected. So that's why it'll be a resource for you. All right.
She's hormonal and out of her head. Four?
What you got on 4? Okay. We can figure out together how you want to handle what you're feeling about this, but we got to stop that kind of labeling. We can look at this together.
Yeah. If she had not taken my kids, I would have never started using. It sounds like you've heard this before.
Yeah, they all work, but some of them are a closer match. I want to talk. Actually, when I'm 8, yeah, let's see. There are 2 really difficult issues going on. One's your use of substances. The other is your use of violence. Yeah, that would totally work. Most of them would. I want to talk to you about doing another level work on this right now. Yeah.
I was abused in my last relationship. This is a woman's state, Massachusetts.
These are direct quotes, so. 6? Yeah, that's an all purpose. Keep the 6 in your pocket for all purposes. Yes. Putting aside anything they did to you or did at all, let's look at your behavior only right now. Others would work.
My dad did this to my mom, and I swore I would never, ever do this. And here I am.
It's 5.
5?
Yes. 2 and 5 work. You're here because you hurt your partner and you want to be safe, reliable partner that can be trusted. Is that right? You're cultivating a goal and you're joining with them in that. 2, I want to talk with you about doing another level of work. It's an invitation. Mm-hmm. Is there one more? Is that
we got 2 more.
2 more.
I told her I was sorry. I did everything I could. I went to that stupid group for abusers and she still won't take me back.
Yeah, 7. What do you think your partner might say about you if they were here and you were only seeing things from your partner's point of view? Bam, that one's hard. Usually people get real quiet and it's a good opener. Mm-hmm. Last one.
My kids are never going to forget what I did. And I don't blame her for not talking to me. Why shouldn't I use? What's the point of even trying?
Can we talk about how being in recovery also means being responsible for the way you respond to everyone? Yes. And McCaffrey is a teacher of Ben Clough, who used to work for BSAS. The facts of your condition are that you got high and assaulted your daughter's mom, and there's some more work to be done here. So if you're inviting someone to do more work, where are we sending them? Let's end on that. No, it's after that. Here it is. Oops, there it is. Okay, it's in your hand, in your packets too. It's also on my kitchen table, and we'll get that back to you. Which is Massachusetts is piloting the first in the nation. We get calls from all over the country, but it's for Massachusetts. It's a free confidential line, 898-3411. You can call to be like, I don't know how to talk to this person. It's going nowhere. Circles. I can't get anywhere. You can call to get advice of dealing with someone who has abusive values towards you, towards their family and community, and is in recovery. They can call themselves. It's free. It's confidential. We don't take names. There's no connection to any other service intentionally. We can encourage them to get other kinds of help. We don't keep a record of their name, where they live, so they can tell us the truth. And often they'll tell us, I've never told anyone the whole truth, or even my lawyer told me never to tell anyone the whole truth, not even my therapist, because their notes might get somewhere. And so people have a place to actually come to terms with transforming their abusive values. And the people are deeply trained. They're there for you. They're there for the family members who are like, I don't know what's going on with this person. The family members can call. Any of you can call. The family members could call. The person interested in making a change can call. It's called a call for change. So, and it's at 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. because it's not crisis oriented. Usually people call us before things going down or after, or they'll call us from their car and say, I don't want to go in the apartment, because I know what I'm going to do and I want to be different. And so they'll call back. Last quarter, 67% of the callers call back. People keep calling back. So we're not putting it all on you. We actually want you to have at least the interrupter and then a place to send them to continue the conversation, and a place for you. And also we have a resource for training more deeply if you want to learn more about how do I do these strategies of compassionate, accountable conversations. We are so grateful you're transforming use of power, your community, to help people recover and live safe, full, and joyful lives. And I just want to thank you for having us today.
Thank you.